220 by the end of the day, but it's right down the runway, so that's no problem at all. You just roll out a little bit of rope and kite up from there, right? You can see what's going to forecast for the Albuquerque area, and that's generally a pretty good forecast. I'm going to sit down for the rest of this. If I'm not talking loud enough, well, let me know, and I'll try to do better. My default weather. Stop it.
As a test of sorts, Marvin, how well do you hear in the back of the room? I mean, is it coming clear? Okay, I was checking the acoustics. Thank you.
That's Kurt.
There we go, SkySight. My default weather briefing is SkySight because it covers a lot of territory.
What's your password so we can all use it?
Yeah. Okay, so here we are for Tuesday. We are, is that here? There we go. Take a look at the. You see that there's not much likelihood of overdevelopment today here. However, if we did the same thing up north, about 50 or so miles up in the mountains, you're going to see there's definitely an overdeveloped about that neck of the woods. Pretty good west wind out there. Get out of this real quick. Let's talk about winds aloft. Yeah, I'm sure that all of you have noticed that there's some cumulus puffus out there over and west of the airport. So what I like to do is start at the 500 millibar level, if I can ever get to it. Look at the winds. It gives us some idea of what wave might be there. You can see that SkySight said there might be a little bit of weak wave here in the lead of the Sandias, and you probably noticed this morning there were cumuliform clouds there of a rotor nature developing there, and we've also got some around here. So I would say that although SkySight said there might be a little something down there, we could do the point-to-point, but it's probably going to say about a knot or two of lift at best. It's not that enthusiastic about the possibility of mountain wave. Here's the problem with this. If there's no mountain wave and you've got winds of 20 knots or better at peak level, although there may not be wave, I can guarantee you that Mother Nature will have aligned things on a north-south track, and there'll be areas of sink that will be working just like a wave. There'll be some lift there perhaps, and it'll probably enhance the convective activity, but I'll guarantee you that you can have long lines of sink running parallel to these mountains. So if you find yourself in this situation, you either go upwind or downwind. Oh, you're flying 126. Let's go downwind. Gonna be your bet. Seriously, go upwind or downwind and get out of that sink, because that's what's happening. Mother Nature is aligning things up very nicely in a long line of sink. So you want to try to avoid that. So the winds aloft are kind of an important thing. Let's go back up here to
500 millibars is
18,000 feet. That's right. I just start there and work my way down. Down at peak level, it's about 20 knots out of the west. Let's go to back to the thermals. Okay, so at 12 o'clock, we're looking at, right over us, 11.5 over here, probably 12.5, yeah. But one of the important things to look at, too, is thermal strength and shear ratio. And if you've got a lot of this stippling here, and what that tells you is that the thermals are going to be rough and sheared, and where you've got 10 knots up on one side of the thermal and 10 knots down on the other. So they're going to be sheared and difficult to work. Fortunately, it's pretty open through the valley here for the most part, so that's promising. Cloud base. It doesn't look as though we're going to see a whole lot of cloud base around here, but according to SkySight, obviously that's not totally accurate because we've got these Q that are forming out here. So I would say that you probably could have launched an hour and a half, 2 hours ago, and more than likely found rotor enhanced convection rotor enhanced convection that would get you up into perhaps the first tertiary of the mountain wave off the Sandias. Maybe. No guarantee that that's the case, but it's at least a possibility. Let's bump up to about 4 o'clock and see what we have in the clouds. Okay, these are probably up to 15.5. So we clearly have some clouds there that are on during the day. Let's see what else we'll look at.
Billy, can I interrupt a second?
Absolutely.
Yeah, fire alarms are going to go off in about 5 minutes, just for a short period, so don't anybody panic.
Okay. So here's what SkySight says by 4 o'clock. We may have some overdevelopment here, which brings to mind microbursts. Everybody familiar with microbursts?
No.
Well, one of the things that happened, MIT back in the late 90s, about 1991 or 2, came to Albuquerque to study dry microbursts. And they set up their own ASR9 antenna on the Albuquerque airport. And they used algorithms, they developed algorithms off the raw data from the antenna to forecast microbursts. And those guys were spot on. Then eventually they gave the whole system to the FAA and hadn't worked with the damn since. But bottom line is microbursts are not something to mess with. It's if you have a well-formed cloud with a shaft of rain coming down and striking the ground,